My name is Lisa Etkin, and I was diagnosed with a mini stroke last October. And I had all of the symptoms of a stroke, and they first diagnosed me with viral infection, and then it didn't go away. So then they started running tests. I had a CAT scan, I had an MRI, I had all kinds of blood work, and they didn't know what was going on. My symptoms were I couldn't walk straight. My words were slurring. I couldn't see things right. Things were blurry. I just felt like I wasn't myself. And when the CAT scan had come back, I had a spot on the back of my brain. So that definitely indicated that I had the stroke. So they started me on steroids and different kinds of medicine, and I went back to work, still not feeling, though I should be going back to work, but I needed to go back to work. And I still just wasn't feeling comfortable with the doctors here, and I decided to get a second opinion at Ohio State. Probably about 3 months after the onset. So I went to him. He did not feel that I had the stroke. He said, I think it's all upper cervical, it's neurological. I just don't see it. You don't have a family history, you're healthy. I just don't see it. So he recommended that I just stick with what I was doing and hope that, I would just, eventually it would get better. So in the midst of all this, my mother comes here to Tony Monin, and I have a couple friends that come here. And during this time, they kept telling me, just go see him, just go see him. And I had been through so much. I waited and I waited and I waited. And finally, April of this year, I started coming to Dr. Monin. And he ran some x-rays, definitely seen where the flaw was. And my very first appointment, him adjusting me, was the most incredible thing that happened to me in 6 months. Because it's very hard to function being a mother and working full-time and knowing that you can't function. So I knew after my first adjustment that this was probably going to be something I would do for the rest of my life. And Tony explains everything very well. If those two bones, that has to be aligned for your brain to sit there right, because if your brain doesn't sit there correctly, you have like over 7 trillion nerves that are in your brain, and they all function something in your body. And if any of those get intertwined, or I like to say, like when wires surge, and that's what happened to me, basically. Those wires got all messed up in there, or the nerves, and I basically malfunctioned, is what happened. So once he got that aligned, everything else just came together. I'm very, very excited about it. I think this is something that whether you were having any issues like I have, or whatever you have going on, upper cervical is the way to go to be healthy.